Lost in the ongoing saga of Motorsport games is the fact that they're owned by a parent company, which is Motorsport Network. And just as we've investigated Motorsport games and found out, wow, these guys are pretty shady, so is the parent company. Today we are going on another field trip, this time to the website Glassdoor, which is basically the business world equivalent to Metacritic. You can just review your old jobs. Unlike Metacritic, however, the site is not shitposting central. To leave a review of any of your former employers, you have to upload at least two pieces of ID proving you used to work there. So this isn't full of kids just smearing random companies. This is actual employees. The stuff written on here by former employees of both Motorsport Games as well as their parent company, Motorsport Network, is just really concerning. So we'll start with Motorsport Games just as an example. Because they're a relatively new company, they only have 3 total reviews, but their rating has already sank to just 3.4 out of 5 stars. Now, the reason for that is because a former employee was actually trying to warn us about NASCAR 21 Ignition a month before the game launched. On September 18th, 2021, again, the game launched late October, he writes, "Working for Motorsport Games was the worst decision he's made in his career. It was completely soul-destroying and a horrible place to work, and the share price tells you all you need to know about the company's outlook." So all the stuff that we've uncovered about Motorsport Games and how they operate over the past month and a half through the various exposés we've done on them, this dude knew everything a month before NASCAR 21 Ignition even came out. Not only that, but when he initially took the job, he was actually warned about working for them. Now, who is them, you may ask? Well, it's Motorsport Network, and they just own a bunch of auto racing and automotive journalism outlets. And their rating on Glassdoor is absolutely atrocious. They have over 50 reviews, and they sit at a 2.4 out of 5 star rating, which is just, it's a failing grade. Now, because there are so many bad reviews, some of them are really long and some of them are really short, I've actually had to categorize them for you because a lot of them had the same common themes or just same subjects talked about. They're just blowing through crazy amounts of money. Right off the bat, one guy in his review, the company says, "This company is so sickeningly mismanaged that I'm shocked they haven't filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in every division." Can't remember if this is a different part of the same review, but he says they never questioned blowing money on nonsense projects, some scaling the dizzying heights of millions of dollars but yield zero return. They also claim the company is hemorrhaging cash in salaries, office space, travel, intercompany costs. You'll know where to look to find out. Another review writes, "Senior management traveled business and first class around the world, wining and dining clients and themselves to the office in Miami for no reason whatsoever, all of which could be done over Zoom calls." Another review tries to give advice to management and says, "Stop expanding the company faster than you can manage or cash flow allows." There's a pattern here. And just as we saw with Motorsport Games, one person writes, "The company's policy seems to be too many chiefs, not enough Indians. It has a vast executive team on monstrous salaries, but has to keep brutally chipping away at the people actually doing the work in order to afford them. This company's culture is all about just blowing insane amounts of money, and it really rubs employees the wrong way." One former employee states that budgets for certain projects were promised and then removed, so doing your actual job is made nigh on impossible. After being told there's no money to pay for X or Y project, you go back to your desk to see a model car worth over $1,500 Canadian. Another review comes along that says actually those model cars in the office are worth about $5,000 Canadian, and that you'll have to sit around them as entire portions of the staff get fired. They then go on to describe Motorsport Network as a haphazard collection of billionaires' trinkets run by management that basically doesn't care for the staff and questions why they're even in the industry to begin with. In fact, it's so bad that half the time they don't even know what they're working on. These are all the classic signs that the company is a front for money laundering. And the reason I say that is because at the end of the day, this is really just supposed to be like an auto racing journalism outlet. The amount of money they're spending literally doesn't make sense for the industry they're in. And according to some former employees, the company just flat out isn't successful at all, and most of their accomplishments are just fake. One review writes that Motorsport Network make use of constant misdirection and smoke and mirror tactics to make the company look much bigger and more successful than it actually is. It actually doesn't make any money at all, which is why there is constant pressure from the tyrant owner and his minions. So remember when Motorsport Games tried to say that 81 million people watch an R Factor 2 online league? Apparently Motorsport Network just say crazy shit like this all the time. Another former employee writes that the company constantly brags about their millions of monthly page views in internal meetings, but those metrics are intentionally vague and don't really indicate much of anything. A third review calls this entire company a mirage and says it's run by a tyrannical owner who just makes impulsive decisions, and says it's like living with a toddler who can't decide which one of his toys he wants to play with next. All I can really deduce from just seeing all this stuff is that it's like this weird money laundering front. In 2022, with the advent of social media, it's really not that difficult or even expensive to run an online publication, and yet they're blowing through incomprehensible amounts of money while simultaneously struggling to pay their ground level employees. Employees who, by all accounts, often don't know what they're working on and immediately want to leave the company. These guys should probably be looked into.